What's up, everybody? Krydax here, and welcome back to another episode of pYanodon's Season 3. So, they just released an experimental for 2.1 that adds an else to combinators. So you can be like, hey, if pipes are less than 5, output this, else output this. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for that. That alone, I mean, it's just this thing they added on top of 2.1 that wasn't even part of 2.1 originally, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So there's gonna be a lot of things in 2.1 that are gonna be really handy, but we're not ready to switch yet. Pi isn't updated for it, and I think it's gonna break a few things in the base. The thing I'm the most worried about breaking, I guess there's two things. Thing number one, I guess, would actually just be random stuff throughout the base that's controlled with circuitry that is gonna mess up with the new red-green system. I'm not exactly sure what will break. It could be very little. I don't think it's gonna break Cybersyn in any major way. The other problem is I have a million mods, right? And all of those mods are gonna need to be... What is going on? Oh, sorry, I broke something. Oh. Wait, what? What on earth? Well... That's been broken for a while. Anyway, just... all of those mods need to be updated for 2.1. Some of them won't break, so it's just a flag saying it's compatible with 2.1. But some of them are going to break too, so I'm a little concerned that we might never be able to update to 2.1. There is a world where I need to just say goodbye to 2.1 for a long time because we're never going to have it. I'm a little concerned about that. That's a very real possibility. I'm hopeful that that won't happen, but with how many mods I have, it just needs to be in my, it needs to be in the back of my head that that might happen. Otherwise, it'll probably still be at least a few weeks, I'm guessing, for everything to get updated and such. So, we'll see, we'll get there eventually. For now, we just need to settle into enjoying things the way they are, because they're not going to change anytime soon. And we are working on Trits, trying to upgrade to a higher tier of recipe. And I'm trying to remember, we needed the albumin still. And I think something else, I don't remember what it was, but... Let me get a centrifuge, and we're gonna need blood, which we already have, but probably in higher amounts. Yeah. Let's bump that up to 71,000. No reason not to. And why is there a fluid... Oh, I guess we needed Corlex milk, but no longer need Corlex milk, is I think what happened there. And then we're gonna need a centrifuge here, and that's a centrifugal pan. I literally thought I clicked over to this one. Did I just miss? I don't know what happened there. And then yeah, I'm trying to think. Direct insertion would be the best thing here, but it's not quite gonna work space-wise. Actually, take that back. Can I just put it in between the two? I think I can. It's gonna mess with pipe connections, but I think we can just do this. And this bad boy is gonna make albumin. And as much as I say what's a gigawatt between friends, I do think I'm gonna put some efficiency modules in here. These things get a little wild, I will say. And then we're definitely gonna control the logic here somehow. I don't actually know. I'm having second thoughts. What's the albumin spoil time? It's pretty short, 10 minutes. Why don't I... Okay, hold on. Undo that. Move these back. And I think I'm actually just gonna put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. I don't know where that came from. And then we're gonna shift these back to where they were, and then we're gonna place these back to where they were. Okay. And then this guy, I think we're just gonna use a chest, is what I'm thinking. And what are these are, I don't know, I'm gonna need some new control logic here, I think. And why don't I have an underground belt there, and then we'll have some sort of chest for the albumin. It's gonna spoil sometimes into urea, and then urea can be voided in a chemical plant or a biomass or a destructive distillation column. Those are all the same size. Those are all giant buildings. I think that's the only way to get rid of urea, unfortunately. But if it's by itself. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I can't be yawning. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. So let's just do chemical plant, because there's only one fluid to worry about. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Classic reason I go silent for a couple seconds. And then, oh, no, destructive distillation column is a tile smaller, so we'll just do that. And that will be urea disposal. Now, these are both fluids. Sorry, I always say fluids when I mean liquids. So we're just gonna do that. I know it's wasteful, but we're gonna get such a small amount over time that I just think it's not worth my time. Okay, and then I guess I'm gonna move that up there so we can do this. Okay, and then this albumin will be running based on Trit cubs. If I can find them. Less than, we'll say, 80. A little higher than what we had before. And then we're going to go recipe 3. And then, okay, so at this point, we're missing fish eggs. So now we need to import fish. I'm a little worried about fish, but I'm just gonna put them on the thing. We're also gonna need phytoplankton. Porlax milk seems to not be needed anymore. What did I need that for? Oh, that was for the, okay, yeah. I remember. So we'll get rid of those pipeline contents. Now we need phytoplankton. Phytoplankton. And then that's good to go. This needs to be phyto. Every time I say it that way, I think of the dog name Fido. And then we're gonna need fish eggs. Which I guess I didn't really consider the fish farm implications to this, did I? I don't know how fast we're gonna need. This is so Is it worth a fish food and seaweed? We already have the filtration media and seaweed available. So I would basically just be bringing in fish food to go from 25 eggs to 35 eggs. It's mostly speed thing, and even the speed's only 60 versus 80. That's not that big of a boost. And given that fish food is kind of in a weird situation, I'm gonna think about this version and just see if it's good enough. Because these guys at max speed still only need 0.4 fish eggs a second. And this guy with fish Mark II modules goes at what speed? 0.95. Okay, so that's plenty fast enough then. And then those are going to spoil into biocrud, which is, I guess, maybe a reason to use a composter. That would be nice if they both compost one at a time, but doesn't biocrud not compost one at a time? Yeah, compost 4 at a time. I guess we can make that work. Here's how we make it work. Did I do a bio... I think I need to. I have a syrup doodad, but I should just do a composting plant. Here, let's do a full setup that's just blueprinted, and I think I should blueprint that because this is already set up for the sweet syrup output. Why is that requesting 50? I guess we just wanted a buffer for all of these. I guess that's fine. I should also filter that just to be certain everything's good. And then that's going to unload directly into that. And then we need a boiler. Is that still the... Hold on. Is that still the easiest way? Because we're also going to need water for this. To get rid of biomass is what I'm currently questioning. Is there a smaller way to get rid of biomass? Why was I not finding biomass? So... Good gravy. So much going on with biomass here. It's burned in a few things, but none of these are really going to work other than the boiler. And then we could just turn it into ash, but that's a high pressure furnace. And then we have ash to deal with anyway. I guess this version just makes CO2. That might be better. Gas refineries are pretty big. Heat exchangers aren't that big, but then you would need a water pressurizer, which also needs the water. So... Because here's what I'm thinking. If we need a pump jack anyway, isn't a high pressure furnace the same size as a pump jack? It is one tile bigger, but then we don't need the boiler and the exhaust vent. So it does simplify a smidge in that sense. So I can just do this. I guess the exhaust vent is needed either way. I don't know. It feels like it's gonna work fine either way. I'm not really sure which one I prefer. I think I prefer this because it's just one less building. Even though this is slightly smaller, I don't think I could fit it. Well, I could fit it in the same footprint, actually. Because if I were to put this here... I'm just trying to think about, like, smallest footprint possible. And that's actually going to be... this. I'm going to move these over to here. I'm gonna move this to here with a connection there. So that way it's in line with the composter. Then we're gonna rotate this. We're gonna scooch it in like so. So that's in line. We're gonna get power right here to power everything. We're gonna exhaust vent. I'm actually gonna exhaust vent. I know this might feel odd, but I think it's more visually appealing, so I'm gonna do it that way. So this, I think, is the best I can do. It's possible... No, there's no way I could fit a... Well, if I did this... and then the boiler... let's see... where would the boiler fit with that water output? It would have to go there, wouldn't it? And there's no tiles for the steam. So it would really have to go like here. And then the steam would be sticking out one tile. Is there a way I can fit it in this box? Because this, if I can fit it in this box perfectly, then that would make it smaller. Also, is this thing a square? I'm just double checking. It is. Okay. If I can fit it in this box perfectly, it would be smaller than the high pressure furnace. But I'm not sure if I can. Because this can't ever go right up next to the building unless we put it here. Which we can. We could scooch the, you know, the chests over next to the building like this. And then the boiler, I guess now can go here, and then the exhaust vent goes here. Okay, that is smaller. All right, that works. Okay. And then the power can go there, and then this is water. All right, and then we've got a log inserter doing that. All right, that works too. I'm not sure which is more elegant. I almost feel like the high pressure furnace version looked a little bit cleaner, but it was one tile bigger, and I do value the density here, so we're gonna stick with this. And then I'm going to default to this. Spending 2 modules and a Mark II building feels unnecessary. So now I'm gonna keep this syrup one. I'm gonna make a new blueprint here. And yeah, I think that's it. Composting. I don't know why I didn't do this before. This definitely makes composting feel a bit more elegant. Now, I do have 2 issues here. So issue 1 is gonna be biocrud. Now, did this one need fish eggs too? The new recipe? Yeah, so fish eggs are just going on the belt. I like completely forgot that. Oh god, we need 4.5 fish eggs a second? Oof. That's kind of rough. I did not account for that. Let me compare and contrast here. So if we used the tier 2 or tier 3 recipe, that's only 2.6 and 1.5 fish, 0.26, 2.2 fish. I think I'd rather go with the more buildings. The only cost is a little bit more fish. A tiny amount of filtration media. Like, yeah, it saves me a couple fish farms, but that's it. So I think I'm just gonna go with a couple of these. Now, again, it is kind of annoying. I guess I can generate this underneath. Like so. And then we've got Fido on the top, and then we've got wastewater along the bottom here. These already have a wastewater, so that's pretty nice. I can just plug into that. And then the Phyto Plankton is up here somewhere. I think it's the middle one. Yeah. And then we need this. Wait, saline. Ah, shucks. For some reason, these only had 2 fluids. Okay, so scooch that. It won't fit? What? Oh. Oh, I was standing in the way. I was like, what just happened? And then that goes up there. All right. And then You know what? This is random, but I'm gonna... Oh, wait. No, hold on. Just about wasted vat brains. We gotta turn off vat brains for a moment. And then I'm gonna do basic reach and... Just gonna get a couple tiles more of reach here. No reason not to do that. It'll be really nice. I should have done that like hundreds of hours ago. I've mostly just kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I say out of sight, but it like shows up at the beginning of, you know, but your brain starts ignoring things. And my brain just started ignoring all of those quality of life researches at some point. All right, so now we're gonna need fish in and eggs out, which is a little bit tight in terms of the belting here, but I think we can make it work like so. And then like this. All right. And then I'm not really sure. Whoa. That was a big lag spike when that research finished. That was like a full second of lag. Yeah, 2000. What mod was that? Editor extensions was a big part of that. What's the other one? Oh, and it disappeared. Dang it. When the next one finishes, maybe I can catch it. It's probably a pyanodon's one, to be honest. It probably has to do some like scripting on research or something. I'm not sure. But yeah, we're gonna have to load fish eggs based on a condition. We're gonna end up with a decent amount of biocrud here. How fast does biocrud compost? 4 every 3. Yeah, there it is again. All right, where's the big number? Where's the big number? 549, 500 for LogiNet channels. And they're going again. That clears so fast. I'm gonna need to like take a screenshot on the next one so I can look at it for a second. Because I can't catch. I mean, I guess that accounted for 1,000 of the 2,000. Let's see. So then we need input. So. And then we need all these buildings to run based on. I guess everything needs fish eggs. Huh. Should I just let it go? It's a 30-minute spoiled timer, so why not? I mean, if we're talking about, it'll buffer maybe like 100 fish eggs, which is equivalent to 50 fish. Oh, there it is. There it is. Screenshot. Okay, I took a screenshot. Wait, but it didn't show the long update time. Oh, there it is. Now I take a screenshot. All right. So, what is the most offendingest mod here? Editor extensions. And it's gone again. Okay, I need to look at the screenshot. You guys have the pause command in your future. Okay, so looking through here, game updates at 2000 there, entity updates at 2000. Oh, pYalien Life, there it is, found it. Yeah, pYalien Life, I was correct. It's because I'm guessing it has something to do with like turd researches or something like that. But that's a pretty huge lag spike, to be honest. I'm not even done with the game, you know, like, is that just gonna keep growing bigger and bigger and bigger until it's like lagging the game for 10 seconds on every research? I mean, even if it does, that's like not the end of the world. It's pretty annoying, but like, I'll live. Anyway, we're talking about like 50 fish every 10 minutes, you know, which is what, a fifth of a fish a second that it's costing me in spoilage. Whatever, I don't really care. So now we need to bring fish down on a belt. That is really annoying though, that lag spike. This is definitely some spaghetti. I'm not exactly sure how I would do this differently. It's just dealing with so many spoilables between the albumin, the fish eggs, and then the fairly non-standard sushi setup I already had going here. But yeah, dealing with 2 spoilables is kind of a lot. I wonder if that recipe... This is another thing. I wonder how many recipes are worse than intended because they were created before spoilage. And then when they added spoilage to the items that they added them to, did they go through every single recipe that uses those items or not? I'm not sure. They might have. If they did, good on them, and this is, you know, what they intended. But it's also possible that some recipes used fish eggs and they looked at, I'm sure when they added things, spoilage to items, they looked at what things use those items, right? You'd think so. But they maybe just added spoilage to a few things willy-nilly and they didn't check every single recipe that uses fish eggs for like, is this going to be really annoying to have fish eggs here? Because like if the recipe used fish, it'd be so much better, right? But using fish eggs is like kind of annoying. And then this using albumin and fish eggs is like, okay, that's a lot of spoilage for one thing. Oh my gosh, this lag, that is so annoying. Now, it's mostly annoying because we're doing multiple researches in a row, right? Like that's the main annoyance. All right, turn that back on. Okay. That's a huge lag spike that pYalien Life is causing there. Okay. So the fish eggs, I mean, I guess here, let's at least do this. Oh, this is super annoying though, because it's gonna deal with biocrud spoilage. Okay, so then we're gonna have a spoilage belt going along here. This is gonna have biocrud and urea. So we have to do a thing here. So that's gonna do biocrud to the right. And then this is where having a stack inserter is actually useful, because if I override stack size to exactly 4, it will always this will always work the way we want, because biocrud doesn't spoil into anything, so we don't have to worry about that. This will only bring stacks of 4, which will always compost perfectly, unless this is so annoying. Unless this fed biocrud in faster than this could craft. Does that make sense? So like, I don't know how the automated insertion limit works here. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this. Like, what's the insertion limit here? When does it stop? And but that's going to be a different number for biocrud and for seaweed. Like it's stopping at 20. Oh, wait. But that's still only doing full swings. Okay, we should be okay either way. The thing that I was worried about, which I guess I'm realizing I've never seen that behavior, so I don't think it's a concern, is what would happen if the composter was full of biocrud, but then the inserter had 4 in it. It swings, it drops 2, and then it returns to pick up, or well, it drops 2 and then it swings back to pick up more. But that never happens. These only do full swings. So even if it does only drop 2 somehow, I don't even know if it's capable of that, it would still just be sitting there waiting until this processes some and 2 more open up. So it will only ever swing 4s. Okay, so we're fine on that. Then I need to extract potential urea here. You know what? I'm not gonna do it that way. I'm just gonna, because we're gonna end up with urea in a couple places potentially. So it could end up in this chest. That one needs to be extracted specifically. Otherwise, it could end up coming out of this building. But then if it ends up in these 2 buildings, it will just naturally end up on the belt. That's fine. So then we will control the albumin based on trit cubs, and the blood needs to be hooked up here. So now that's done. And now we're making albumin, which, I mean, I think that's fine, but these are consuming it way slower than that's making it, so that's a bit of an issue. Because I don't really want this whole stack to fill up. That's way too much. So what do I do here? Realistically, I need a combinator again, or I could do a pump. How do I want to do this? Let's do a pump. Pump's only allowed to run if albumin's less than 10 in the first place. And then the building will only run if trits are low. Okay. So that should work for that. This is filtered to fish eggs. And enable disable based on fish eggs. 200. I don't know, how much do we need? Decent amount, actually. 200 is probably not enough. 4.6. How big is this belt? 300 tiles. So 1 item a second, or 1 item on a tile on a red belt. I think that's the 3.75 a second. So we need like 400 fish eggs. Okay. Automated insertion. I guess that makes sense. Just feels like a lot. We're gonna end up with a lot of biocrud. So then, speaking of biocrud, we have biocrud extractors, like so. Getting rid of all the biocrud on the belt. That ends up on there. The albumin will naturally decay into urea, but that'll all end up on this belt. So then we need urea extraction from the belt as well. So now we've got that. And then I also need some things on the close side of the belt. So let's put the trits and any trit spoilage biocrud on the outside of the belt. Oh, I also just realized another issue. All sorts of issues. These stack inserters are going to break once in a while. If we run out of objects. Oh man, they're working fine for now because the trains are keeping up, but what if we ran out of sea sponges and this grabs 7 sea sponges? I guess it should be fine because it'll get stuck for a while. But as soon as more sea sponges get delivered, which they always will be delivered because this was out of sea sponges and it's requesting sea sponges, it will end up with more sea sponges to grab. So I guess that's actually okay. These will always end up with full stacks, even if they don't have full stacks immediately. I think that's correct anyway. I hope that's correct. Speaking of sea sponges, did we... Isn't there like a third recipe for this? Or did we do all the sea sponge upgrading we wanted? No, there were only 2 recipes. Okay, I think we did everything we wanted to. Yeah, we upgraded the buildings, we upgraded the recipe, we upgraded the modules. That's the triple tap. Who knows? I don't know. Alright, well, is everything running? Did we do it? Seems like it. Now, we will only be able to run 17 of our... Oh, wait, we did not do it. All of these need to be recipe 3. There we go. Alright, and I'm gonna try to cleanse my inventory here of all impurities. Speaking of impurities, these... Oh, nope, didn't want to do that. These random buildings that are unrepaired. But I think we're good, right? I feel like we forgot something here. We're dealing with spoilage. Let me just double check the spoilage chains again. So we've got, starting from here, we've got urea out, and then we've got urea out from there, and then we've got urea out from these. And then urea out from the loop on both the top and the bottom. Should probably do that this way too. And then we've got biocrud also. And then that gets filtered over there, and then that's forced to stack size 4. And that's good to go. This is in the logistics zone. Okay. Fish eggs are backing up. I think... What's the craft time? It's an 80-second craft time. Divided by 3 is 25, 26. So a 26-second delay is a delay of a lot of fish eggs, right? That's a delay of like 100 fish eggs. That's actually okay. If we're only consuming like 5 fish eggs a second, if I just run these when fish eggs are less than 500, we should be okay. And I go to like 550. They're stacked, so that feels okay. That's not that many items on the belt. And now we just let the stack inserter run here. That I think will help a lot with the spoilage. Because then we're not getting this whole belt plus the outputs from these buildings as part of the spoilage. So that's saving hundreds of fish egg spoilage per cycle. We're still going to get these guys spoiling. I guess in general, we still aren't stopping this if trits are full. This one is going to stop when cubs get to 80, which means these need to run all the time. Apparently all the fish eggs are being consumed right now by buildings filling their buffers. How many buildings are we talking here? 18 buildings filling their buffer to 50 each. That's a lot. That's 1,000 fish eggs. Oh no. That's a lot of fish eggs, y'all. Don't love that. What can you do? I mean, obviously we can restrict the input inserter to 25. That would cut it in half. I mean, there's like 5 different things I could do, but they all seem a little crazy. Because that means we're dealing with 1,000 fish eggs every 30 minutes are gonna spoil. If these don't need to run, yeah. So we need to have, I guess we stop the fish supply if we have enough trits, I think. So this belt is only going to be enabled if trits on the belt, which represents our trits supply. So those are being pulled off the belt. I'll put 2 inserters so they grab more, closer to 100% of them. They might still miss one here and there, but they'll get most of them. And then this guy, we're just gonna let trits fill up over time. So then if trits are on about half the belt, I guess we say we want trits to get up to like 150. If trits are at 150, that means we probably are fully saturated there. Okay, so then that's 150. I'm gonna say 200 actually. Okay, so then the fish eggs will dry up. These will end up consuming all of the cubs because the cubs are just running automatically. This guy will turn off once we have enough cubs. We'll only have enough cubs once we have enough trits, and we'll only have enough trits once this backs up. So I do think... Oh, but we need some trits. That's right, we need some trits on the belt to keep these running. I forgot about that part. That's why those are limited. So that's fine. The way it is, I think. These need to have the same condition, though, and wired up to the same thing. There we go. Okay. Can I finally be done with this thing? Maybe. So these buildings are all full of fish eggs, finally. There's a little bit of a problem, which is we're gonna have this like oscillation because these eat all of the fish eggs. Which means if once we have enough cubs, that's super annoying. The way to fix it, honestly, is this. Because now the cubs get the first crack at the fish eggs. And that will fix that issue. I did have them on this side of the belt, though. I don't know how much that matters. But... okay, I feel pretty good about all this. I do think it's a little... I don't know. This feels way more complicated than it needed to be, but it seems kind of complicated. I don't know. I don't feel like I'm totally crazy here. There's 2 different spoiling things. An input and output loop between trits. 2 different types of spoilage to deal with. A heck ton of fluids. And because of the 2 types of spoilage, that almost forces... Ooh, we have new productivity modules that appeared in my inventory. That's exciting. But yeah, I don't really think there's much else we could have done here. Now, why are we out of sodium alginate? That shouldn't be a thing. Something wrong with the seaweed here? Yes. No power. That'll do it. That'll do it. You know, there's a couple things wrong. We also just don't have a... output inserters for those. Well, I think that's it. Could be wrong. I might have missed something. Probably missed something. Let's see. I guess the numbers could be wrong now. We need moondrops to be, I don't know, 400 on the belt. I guess since they're stacked, I can bump these up a little bit. 500, 500. The fish consumption rate is about half that, so we can maybe go... The fish... Wait. Why are fish on the loop? Fish don't need to be on the loop at all. Oops. No fish. That is a mistake. I guess I was trying to stop myself from needing the sushi loop, but... Then I made this. So... It's not needed. So fish are not needed. Let's go to 250 on moondrops. Filtration media, 0.5. Yeah, I mean, let's just go to 100. That's literally at some point you need more on the belt just so that there's more stacks, right? Because if the average stack, again, I'm not sure how the math works on this. No one has made the simulation yet, and neither have I, of like, I think you guys know what I'm talking about at this point. If you've been watching, you remember what I'm talking about. Which is where, like, if you have stacks, let's say you are trying to maintain 100 items on the belt and your stack size is 5. As soon as you drop below 100, you add a new stack of 5 to the belt. But then, periodically, and you could just simulate this by doing it one at a time, you take a random item one at a time off of a random stack. You know, if you do that, and then every time you drop below 50, you add another stack of 5 to the belt. So it needs to be this, like, it's an array, and you add a new element to the array that has 5 in it, but then you remove a random, you subtract 1 from a random element in the array. As soon as the total sum of the array gets less than a certain amount, you add a new element, and as soon as a element in the array goes to 0, you kind of, I forget what it's called, but you know, you squish it. You disappear that element and move everything else forwards. If you do that, and you simulate that thousands of times, what is the average stack size that you end up at? What is that approach? Is it 2.5? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it something unexpected? Is it something with like E? Is it the golden ratio? Yeah, is it pi? Like what irrational number shows up? Or is it just the average of 5 and 0, which is 2.5? Or would it be the average of 5 and 1, which would be 3? That actually seems more reasonable. And then obviously you got to play with the stack size and play with the sum that you're approaching and see if that changes what it approaches as well. I probably know enough about Python that I could figure that out in a couple hours if I wanted to as a fun hobby project, but I don't know enough about it to write that code in like 20 minutes, which is all it would take someone who knows what they're doing. Because like I said, it's literally, you're just iterating over an array, subtracting elements from it, squishing the stuff forwards in the array, and you're just simulating that like, I don't know, 100,000 times, and see what the average stack size in the array ends up being. If anyone knows how to do that quickly, feel free. If not, that's fine. I'm just very curious what the results are. Okay, are we done with Trits? I think we're done with Trits. It's possible I'm still wrong. I'm just the thing I guess I need to double check one last time is, are we gonna stop making spoilables once we have enough Trits? So that once we have enough Trits, we are gonna stop feeding fish to the fish eggs, and then the fish eggs are all gonna get consumed, minus the rounding of, you know, if we have less than 25 in a building. So there'll be a decent amount of biocred spoilage. But then eventually these will stop running, and these are gonna stop running because we're not gonna need Trit cubs on the belt anymore. So yeah, I do think everything will stop. That's the main thing, is I don't want, if we have enough Trits for 70 hours straight, not that we would, but if we did, I don't want 70 hours of stuff to get spoiled. That's the main thing I care about here. And then I guess I'm just gonna put alginate on the other side of the belt as well. It feels like this belt's really lopsided here. So let's share a little bit. And then it's already a 4-4. Let's do a 2-3 and that's worse than the 4-4. Well, how much power did the 4-4 take? 128 megawatts. Yeah, that's wild. Let's do a 4-2, which is 8, and a 3-3, which is 9. That adds to 17, which is better than a 4-4, and it saves me 50 megawatts. But do I care? How bad is a 3-4? It's not too bad. 96. Still kind of bad. But these were a little too slow, is why I'm doing that. Or no, were they? No, we only needed... Oh. We only need 3.3. Oh, never mind. Well, I guess I should check. What's the... That's only 2.65. Oh, it's the limestone. Okay. Is that fast enough? No, 2.87. Now it's the seaweed. Okay. Alright. I can do just that. And that has power. Alright. Now are we at enough? 3.15. Oh, but that doesn't know. That is one downside. Until it doesn't know what turd the ghost building is gonna have, because that's a composite entity situation, and so the beacon isn't even. There's no ghost beacon that's there. It's not until the entity gets placed that that ghost beacon appears. Well, I guess it's probably never a ghost in the first place. It just gets created. Anyway. Are we making the cubs consistently? I think so. Yeah, 28.8 a minute is the limit on those two. Okay. So that's that, and then I guess the final question is, do I want to roll for Trits Mark 3 or not? 3.26. Good. It'll speed these up a lot. But honestly, right now, I'm limited on fish eggs and I'm limited on sodium alginate. So, speeding up the Trits is not actually that necessary. It might be eventually. Does Trits 4 provide a pretty big boost? Like recipe-wise? No? Oh my god, 35? What is wrong with whoever made this recipe? Do you know what goes into 35 sodium alginate? Person who designed this recipe? That is absurd. That's such an absurd amount of limestone and stone and seaweed. Oh my gosh. That's not even... Is that even worth it? Okay, hear me out. There's some weird balancing going on in pyanodon's sometimes. It feels like different people with different design thoughts have made the tiering of these recipes. Like, some of them are like, oh look, we added one more ingredient, but all the other ingredients remained the same, but you get more productivity on all the other stuff plus more speed. And then some of them are more like, oh, we added more of every ingredient and a new ingredient, but you get faster and more productive. And then some of them are like this, where it's like, this just almost feels straight up worse. I mean, it's a little faster, but not like that much faster, right? 8 divided by 160 compared to 6 divided by 200. Like, it's not that different. It's a little better. I think that's 5 instead of 3. So but it's not even double the speed. A lot of them are more than double. It's no better on Trit cubs. For whatever reason, it gets worse on sea sponges, right? You go from 5 to 12. Tree seeds have been the same the whole time, so it's a little better on tree seeds. But again, we're only going from 6 to 8. So even for the ones that remain the same count, it's not like we're getting a ton better productivity on them. And then sodium alginate goes from 15 to freaking 35. It's wild. Now, to be fair, I did just realize this. They didn't add another ingredient. So that is kind of nice. It does just get you faster trits at the cost of an absurd amount of sodium alginate and some more sea sponges. So I guess in that sense, it's not terrible because it doesn't require any new objects. And it is technically a little bit better on Moondrop and filtration media and fish egg productivity. But again, not that much better. It's mostly an absurd amount of sodium alginate. But again, it's like once you have tier 3 beacon, or sorry, what am I saying? Tier 3 buildings. Oh my gosh, tier 2 modules and the full beacons rather than diet beacons. I mean, this is all going to go a lot faster. Though the amount of seaweed is still going to be problematic no matter what. That is an absurd amount of seaweed. And stone. I mean, 35 sodium alginate, no matter how you slice it, even if you had 100% productivity, 35 sodium alginate is going to be almost 100 stone. Because 35 times 5 is 175, right? Yeah. So even with 100% prod, that's still 85 stone per trit recipe. It is kind of wild. Anyway, is the cub recipe the same at tier 4? No, see, that one adds Bodos. What on earth is going on here? Like, why does this one not add Bodos instead of adding 20 sodium alginate? I don't understand. And this adds guts. Another spoilable. I don't know, man. Trits is a weird... Like, it just feels like it doesn't line up with how the rest of the game has done recipes in, like, 3 different ways. I don't know. It's fine. It's just one thing. I'm just being a complainer, I guess. But it does feel a little bit inconsistent the way Trits are all worked out here. But at the end of the day, I think we are not gonna have to touch it for a while, which is nice. So overall, looking at trit rate, it looks like we were in the ballpark of like 2 to 3 a minute. It's hard to know exactly because you have to see the area under the curve here and average it, which is a little tricky. But it looks like the 2 to 3 a minute range. And currently, I'm getting 43 a minute. I will say, though, more recently, we were boosted up to like 11 a minute. So 45 a minute is probably necessary. And then consumption-wise, again, hard to know for sure because some of the consumption is the cubs. Every trit we consume, or every trit we actually make costs 1/4 of a trit. So if we're consuming 10 trits, that really means we're consuming 12.5 trits. As in, if you see 12.5 on the consumption, that actually means you're consuming 10 with like your regular pyanodon's base. Because 2.5 of those, 1/5 of what you see here, is actually just the trits loop consuming its own trits. Unless somehow this is ignored by statistics. Which, who knows, that feels like the kind of random thing Pi would do. So if you look at the recipe here, I believe there is a flag somewhere that allows products to be ignored by stats, I think is what we're looking at here. So for example, the Trits ingredient could say ignored by stats, which would then show the stats of Trits consumed would then only show what your base is consuming and not what this recipe is consuming. I don't think they should do that because who's going to know that it's doing that? Like it's such a random thing to ignore by stats. But in this specific case with how Trits works, you probably would want that to be ignored by stats. I don't think they should do that, to be clear. But like if I could hit a checkbox to ignore by stats for that specific input, I would. Because I don't want that to count. Same way, that actually goes for all like plant seeds and such. I actually don't want the consumption of seeds for the recipe that loops itself around. I don't want that to show up. The problem is for certain recipes you can't differentiate. For example, I'm on such a tangent today. Like you can't tell what am I trying to get at here? Like with Ralasia seeds. I need Ralasia seeds for my base. Or I guess I should say Ralasia, because we're talking about what's getting consumed. I need Ralasia for the seeds for the loop, but I also need Ralasia for the base. No, that's still not what I'm talking about. I need Ralasia for the seeds for the loop, and I need Ralasia for the seeds. I need this exact recipe to also provide seeds to the base. And it's the same seeds, and it's the same seeds extraction recipe. So there's no way to differentiate how much Ralasia you're consuming for this and how much your Ralasia you're consuming out there, right? With Trits, that's not true, right? You could differentiate how many Trits you're consuming for this and how many Trits you're consuming out in the base. And that's one case where, you know, again, I don't think pyanodon's should do that, but if I could hit a checkbox, I would. Anyway, all that to say, Trit consumption is peaking at 24. It's going to be a little higher now because, again, this is looping itself. So if we're producing 40, that's going to be 10 consumed just to produce the 40. So if we're consuming 20 plus the 10 in here, that's going to land at about 30. So I think we're good. I think Trits are good for now. Woof. Yikes. I don't think I'm ever going to go to recipe 4. That's an absurd amount of sodium alginate. Again, maybe with enough of those upgrades, and maybe with a seaweed crop facility Mark III with Mark IV modules, we could get fast enough seaweed that it still could fit in a reasonable spot. We could also, you know, always go for one of these guys. Like, you do get kind of an absurd seaweed speed here. That's 1 every 5. That's 3 every second. That's 15 times faster. You know, oh, I just spilled coffee. Whoops. Oh, that's fun. Hold please. Iron ore does. I mean, how fast would you need? So if you needed 10 seaweed a second, that would be. I mean, not that much iron ore. I don't know. That's not a terrible recipe, just because of how much seaweed it makes. It makes me feel like. Oh, you know what? Hold on. This one's interesting. I forgot. Oh no, but it's saline water. Sorry. I always forget that that's saline water. I was like, wait, we can make this 0 input. Saline water is a little trickier to make 0 input, but we already have saline water here. So I am curious. This is very much going to be the end of the episode after this. I've said that in my head a couple times. Thankfully, I haven't said it out loud, which makes it slightly less embarrassing, but I mean, it's not literally embarrassing, but like if I were to do this setup, how much CO2 would I actually need? How much, you know, limestone would I actually need? Can we do it with 1 soil extractor? I'm guessing the answer is yes. That. Oh, but then we need a composter. Ugh, that's a lot of looping around. Seaweed to compost is pretty good. You get 20 biomass from 10 seaweed. 20 biomass is gonna make 600 CO2. So we need a sixth of 20 biomass. Maybe I should work the other way. I'm doing too much math there, all in one chain. So we need 100 CO2, which means we need a third of this, so we need 3.33 biomass. We need a third of 10. And then a third of 10 means a sixth of this, which means a sixth of 10 seaweed, which means 1.66 seaweed. So we need about, that's a 12th of the output is consumed. Okay. Not too much. We get most of that out. So this really makes like 18 seaweed. Then the lime, I mean, I can just do this. Alright, I can do this after I select the limestone. They do keep up. That makes 6 seaweed. Second. Huh. So the main thing is that you just have to hook up the saline water. And if you do, this is better. But again, it depends on how you're looking at it, because you do need, the problem here is you need the composter. You don't need a whole composter, but then you need a belt of compost to feed all of these if you're doing a bunch of them. So that gets a little messy, I will say. And then once you start dealing with this guy, you're having to import the saline and the slaked lime and the fertilizer, because you can't make fertilizer from nothing, at least not easily. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly, wow, that is 12 a second seaweed though. That is a lot of seaweed from one building. I mean, in that case, I feel like if you start needing in the 10 plus seaweed, it almost makes sense to just import the ingredients for this via train, and then you just do that. Now, some of you may be wondering, why not just import seaweed? And that's a great question. And we totally can, especially now that we're about to have trains that can carry 80 stacks. That makes me even more likely to feel okay transporting. Like, if I needed 30 seaweed a second, that does feel like a lot to put on trains, but with how many stacks we're gonna have, that feels a little easier. Anyway, all right, I think we're gonna call that an episode. The Trits upgrade is complete, and do we actually need a copper upgrade? I have not looked at LTN in, I feel like, what is it now, hours. Copper seems to have caught up. Now I am out of Ulrich food. Of glassware? Is that real? I think that's real. I think that's... yeah, that's only provided by one station, so that's not real. That's just trains catching up. Ulrich food might have been a lie as well. Yeah, that's fine. So it looks like the only real thing here to worry about would be the nanocrystalline cellulose. Okay, so that'll be what we do in the next episode. And then copper, I guess I did kind of upgrade it a little bit already. Not to mention, I can also buffer this a little more. Let's go to 3,000. We'll do 5 more stacks there. Okay, well, as always, thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one.